YOD, roho, mwili na muda. YOD, spirit, body and time.
President Trump and Ukrainian President Zelensky just took questions from reporters in the Oval Office, and it could not have been more different than their meeting, their sit-down back in February that grew incredibly contentious. You saw there the Ukrainian president. Today, he was incredibly grateful. That was a key complaint from the White House back in February, that he wasn't grateful enough. He said he was grateful to President Trump. He said that he was grateful for the U.S. NATO program that allowed member states to buy weapons from the U.S. and then send them to Ukraine. You also saw Trump being much more measured than we've seen in the past. One thing to keep in mind here, going into this meeting, President Trump wants two things. One, he wants to be able to get a trilateral meeting with the Russian President Putin and Zelensky on the books. And two, ultimately, he wants an end to this Ukraine war. So he was much more measured than we've seen in the past. And in fact, he actually didn't take the bait on a number of questions. For example, one of the questions he was asked is who holds the cards? If you'll remember back in February, that was something President Trump kept saying to Zelensky, you don't hold the cards.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. Right now, you don't. You're playing cards. You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III.
He demurred on that answer, saying it wasn't something that he wanted to get into. Zelensky himself was asked at one point whether or not he was going to keep letting Ukrainian troops die or if he was going to redraw the maps. It's a pretty loaded question there. He answered by saying he believes there is a diplomatic resolution, or could be a diplomatic resolution, to ending this war. Now, one of the most striking parts of the entire sit-down was when President Trump was asked about security, giving Ukraine security, whether it come from NATO, whether it come from the United States. And he was specifically asked about if that security, if they were to come to a deal, would be containing or would include U.S. troops on the ground. And he wouldn't answer that question directly. And he didn't rule it out, saying that he was going to have a conversation with the European leaders, that they would take the lead on it because they're over there in Ukraine, but that he wasn't ruling out the United States being involved in that security. Now, as we move forward, one thing we're watching closely is that President Trump said that he had spoken to Putin indirectly before this meeting, but was going to have another conversation directly with the Russian president after he meets with both Zelensky and the European leaders. He also said that he believes that if a trilateral meeting is to happen, it could bring an end to the war.